Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5th Winter 2024-25 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, trying to bring you more winter data, and this one's going to be an absolute epic. We're going to be looking at a lot of strat data for this one for the first time this season. We're going to go through the Eurasian snow cover maps back to 1998 and see how we're doing this year for Eurasian snow cover. Sea surface temperature anomalies, solar activity, Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, you name it, we're looking at it in this 5th winter update, and I can't wait to get started on that in a moment. We're going to begin with the swingometer. After 4 updates, you're going to see the swingo for the first time this season, so that's coming up in about a minute. But just to say that if you enjoy the content on the channel at the moment, please you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. Drop a comment as to know what you think about this and all of our videos and content, and don't forget to tell your friends about the unique content that we're producing here at GavsWeatherVids, short, medium and long range, ultra long range content as well. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Thank you so much, Richard, for our amazing winter updates gift. Thank you so much, Richard. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, my friend. And also, for being the King of Swing. Yes, the King of Swing is back, aren't you, Rich, from your holidays? And Richard's swinging, actually, right now. And he's going to be swinging for us in this video. So you're going to see that in a second. Thanks to Shrine Brilliant as well for all of the help on this update. When we get to the sections that Shrine has helped with, I will give Shrine a shout out to #TeamGav. As always, doing a fantastic and sterling job for all of us. Well, I'm not for this one, I guess you can probably tell, so I reckon we're going to crack on with it. Shall we do it? Let's do it. Why don't we do it? Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Right, let's have a look then. So, a lot of people have been waiting for this. After 4 Winter 2024-25 updates, this is how the GavsWeatherVids swingometer is looking as of the beginning of update number 5. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. The supercomputer has calculated that after 4 winter updates, we are favouring a colder than average winter for our winter updates by 58%. to 42%. Wow. Quite a shocker there. So that's what the King of Swings supercomputer has turned up, hasn't it, Rich? And nearly 60-40 in favour of a cold average winter after 4 updates. So the cold is, it hasn't been a bad start to the updates. I think that's completely different to last year where we're favouring mild early on, and then we had a late swing towards cold, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the remainder of these winter updates. But as of 4 updates in, the cold winter is favoured by 58% to 42%. You'll find out at the beginning of next week's 6th winter update what this 5th winter update has done to the swingometer, if anything. Thank you so much to the King of Swing, Richard Shaw, for sending that through. Thank you so much, Rich. Right, let's crack on. We're going to begin with some more summer to winter data. So last week we did analogues looking at the central temperature for summer 2024. This week we're looking at England, Wales precipitation. Thanks so much to Shrine Brilliant for sorting out the years that we've got for our analogues in a moment. So England, Wales precipitation for summer 2024 came out at 173 millimetres. That was after 33.7 millimetres in June. It was a dry June. A wetter July at 90.6 millimetres, and then a dry August at 48.8 millimetres. So overall we came out at 173 millimetres for England Wales precipitation for summer 2024. It means that our range for winters following summers with an England Wales precipitation is 153 to 193 millimetres. Let's do that then, shall we? We're going to start off with 1961-1962. So this winter is following the summer of 1961, of course, and the summer of 1961 had an England Wales precipitation range of 153 to 193 millimetres. Winter 61-62 was actually quite a coldish winter, with a mid-Atlantic ridge heading up towards Greenland, and a trough over and to the east of the country, and winds were generally coming in from the northwest quite a bit of the time. It wasn't continuously cold. It's very overshadowed, of course, by the following winter, which was 62-63, of course. So, very overshadowed by that. But nevertheless, did have cold snaps at times. Quite a cold Christmas to New Year. And it got very cold late February, and March 1962 was an exceptionally cold month as well. One of the coldest Marches on record in the winter of 61-62. Our next winter, oh, wow, 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 wow. Here it is, everyone. It's Batati, 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 Batati. It's Batati, Batati, Batati. Your father! Yes, it's my daddy of cold winters. It's 62-63. Let's put these specs on and have a look at this, everyone. Check this out. My daddy, my daddy, my daddy. I am your father. Here we go. It's the daddy of cold winters. Showing up for the first time this season. It's 1962-1963. It follows the summer England Wales precipitation range of 153 to 193 millimetres for the summer of 1962. And check this out. It's the coldest. It's the analogue for the coldest winter since 1740. Oh my goodness gracious me! With low pressure and projection down here somewhere, heading in towards Spain and North Africa. But what makes it really cold is this big blocking area of high pressure. My God, around Iceland and Greenland. And between the two, yes, we're going to be bringing in the wind from up here somewhere. So the air comes in from up there, around the Arctic and whatnot. And so it is the coldest winter since 1740. It's my daddy, my daddy, my daddy, my daddy, my daddy. I am your father. It's a daddy of cold winters, 1962-1963. It showed up for the first time in our analogues package, and I reckon we're going to remember this one turning up. No, I'm sure we are. I don't want to cringe to whoever dares watch this back. Right, let's crack on then. Thank you so much, everybody. Here we go. We've got the winter 64-65 showing up next. This is another cold winter from the 1960s, but nowhere near as cold as my daddy, obviously. But nevertheless, does have low pressure down south, and it's got high pressure blocking in the North Atlantic and going up towards Greenland, and winds will be coming in from a northeasterly direction. It's a backloaded wind. Gets colder later through February and March of 1965. Got 1967, 1968 showing up next with high pressure in the Atlantic and low pressure away from the east. Normally cold snaps with this winter. And quite a cold February as well, but of course overshadowed by the February the following year, which was even colder in 1969. Overall, that's a pretty chilly winter for 67-68, especially later on. You've got 1972-1973, this is a mild and dry winter, with high pressure sitting over and to the east of the country, but non-strict. Then we've got 79-80, that's generally relatively mild-ish, with low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. I think there's a few cold snaps, there's a bit of blocking away to the north, but that's one of the mild milder winters, actually, from the run of cold winters from the mid-70s to the mid-1980s. Okay, we've got 1999, pretty good, isn't it? 1990, 1991 showing up next. I'm slightly giddy, on this one. Got high pressure towards Scandinavia, low pressure down towards Spain, and winds coming in from the east. Cold in February of 1991, has the famous Midland snowstorm in December 1990, then a cold, frosty January after a relatively mild and stormy Christmas to New Year, and then the cold really bites in February of 91 with a big freeze up and a lot of snow. Then we've got 94, 95, which is generally mild, Atlantic driven and very wet winter. Low pressure north, high pressure south, winds coming in from west. A few cold snaps, but that's generally a very wet winter. And then we've got 2000, 2001. What about this one? Well, this is a colder winter for the north anyway, with winds coming in from the east. It does have some blocking away to the north as well. This low pressure keeps the south relatively mild, but there are some cold snaps even in the south actually. And for the era, which is sort of 1990s to 2000s, it is one of the colder winters actually for the era. Even down in the south there is some snow, which a lot of the winters in that era did not have in the south. We've got 2003, 2004, so it's generally quite a mild winter, but a few cold snaps. It does get cold late in February. The 2004, low pressure east, high pressure west, and winds coming in from the north. Where are we going next? We've got 2005, 2006, which is a failed cold winter. You will look at that, and I think that is epic, wouldn't you, for cold? You'd look at it and think, all this high pressure up here and going up towards Florida and whatnot, and low pressure down here. You'd look at that and think it's a very cold winter. It was not a cold winter. It's actually slightly above average, I think, or certainly near normal anyway, but it did have some cold snaps. There was a cold snap just after Christmas of 2005, and then it was really late February through to March of 2006 that it got properly cold. There's about a month, actually, 4 weeks of genuinely quite cold weather from mid-February to mid-March 2006, and even some snow was included at times as well. And then we've got 2013, 2014, the complete opposite to my daddy, which is probably the daddy of mild winters. I don't know, but it's certainly a mild, wet and windy, very stormy winter with this one, with repeated Atlantic storms sweeping in from off the Atlantic. Right, let's put all that together then. This is how all the servers combined are looking following summer England Wales precipitation range of 153 to 193 millimetres. Quite unsettled and relatively mild for the December, despite the daddy being included in the analog package with low pressure through the west of Europe. Then we go through to all January's combined. Better cold potential here with low pressure to the south of the continent, and we have got some high pressure up towards Scandinavia as well. So not all of these Januaries will be cold, but certainly increasing the chance of cold weather. Anyway, it does include the daddy, of course, which was a severely cold January. Winds coming in from the east with quite a few of those Januaries, and then all Februaries combined look like that. And again, a bit of a blocking signal towards Greenland and Iceland this time, though, with low pressure tend to be to the south of the east. The winds often coming in from northeast direction again. So, I mean, we start off generally quite mild with December, but clearly we are trending towards a colder pattern there, with a lot of those winters for the Januaries and for the Februaries. Finally, all winters combined, following summer England Wales precipitation of 153 to 193 millimetres, looking like that, with high pressure up towards Greenland and Iceland, low pressure through the continent, winds coming in from the east. It is a cold winter signal, although very much focused on January and February, with a rather milder, wetter signal perhaps for December. Well, that's our latest analogues package done and dusted. We'll have a little break there and digest what we've just witnessed. But daddy. Digest what we've just witnessed. And when we come back, though, we're going to have a lot of strat data. Now, we haven't touched on stratospheric data in the winter update so far, but we haven't had a really detailed look at the strat. We're going to do that for you in the second part of this epic 5th winter update. So I shall see you in 2 seconds time. You stretch your legs, get a cuppa, get some biscuits and whatnot, and I'll see you in a couple of seconds. See you soon. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the epic 5th winter 2024 update from 2024-2025 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, why wouldn't you have done? Please like, share, and subscribe. So to everyone for doing that. We've done the swinger and we've seen the daddy. First time this season. But now we're going to persevere. Thank you so much, everybody, and thanks so much to Richard for the gift. Right, here we go then. We're going to start off this second section, 5th winter update, with strat data. I've got a lot of strat data to get through for this one. So this is how things currently look in terms of temperature at 10 HPA over the North Pole. This is coming from the JMA. The grey line, the trend line, the black line is this season. So you can see we're starting off a bang on average, really, with stratospheric temperatures at 10 HPA right now, somewhere just under -40. No, we did start off, but now actually ticked up a little bit. What am I talking about? We've ticked up a little bit with the black line. So we're under -50, probably about -52. We expect to be around -55 at this time of the year. So we're slightly above average with the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere right now. If you go a little bit lower down to 30 HPA, closer to the troposphere, there we're above average as well. Though earlier on in September, the black line was about on parity with the grey line. Now we've broken away from it, and we see temperatures therefore about 10 and 30 HPA, stratospheric levels slightly above normal. Not greatly, but a little bit above, which is quite unusual this early in the season. Right, well, let's have a look at GFS and some stratospheric data. So these blue colours, of course, are cold temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. That is the polar vortex at its roots. Let's run through and see what happens. So we expect, because we're in a cooling time of the year, I expect to see the blue colours getting deeper and more extensive as well as the polar vortex, strengthens and powers up. That's how we look in just over a week's time. Quite a widespread area of temperatures at 10 HPA there, around -60. We carry on through with this GFS run, and we start taking the temperature lower in towards the second week of October. We go down to about -64, something like that. Rather displaced, I have to say, over on the Greenland, Scandinavian and Atlantic side, European side of the North Pole. Over on the Siberian side and the Asian side, it does look a little bit warmer than average. So over the top of the pole itself, although temperatures at -64, around Greenland about, over the top of the pole itself, we're probably around -48 to -52, something like that by the 14th of October. How does that compare with average at 10 HPA? So by sort of the middle of October, expecting to be about there, really, I think, which is probably about -65, something like that. So going back here, so these temperatures here are about average, but they are displaced out of the pole, you see. Over the pole itself, around -48 to -52, and that would be quite a bit above average, actually, if that comes off. That would see the black line somewhere, I don't know, somewhere about here probably. So, staying a little bit above average temperature at 10 HPA by the look of it for the first half of October. That's quite interesting. But even more interesting is what's happening with the zonal wind, because we are, in fact, at the moment, seeing a record-breaking weak zonal wind. So have a look at this, everybody. This is from the ECMWF. This is the ECMWF mean zonal wind forecast at 10 HPA for the next 6 weeks. So it gets us into the middle of November, just there. But right now, we're down here. So we aren't exactly negative with the zonal wind, but we're very barely positive, really, with the zonal wind. We haven't reversed, zonal wind isn't in reverse, but it is very, very weak, and I believe it is a record-breakingly weak zonal wind that we've got and have had over the past week or two. Now, it's a job to work out where the thick blue line is, because that's kind of like the ensemble mean, but you'll be able to see if I highlight it here that as we go through, particularly the middle and second half of October, the extended ECM 42-day model is forecasting the solar wind to power up, so becoming stronger, and crossover with climatology occurs, if the forecast is correct, it is only forecast, might be wrong, occurs into the last week or 10 days of October. And then as we go to the end of October and into November, we actually see the forecast predicting that the solar wind will become stronger than average. So we go for a record-breakingly weak solar wind right now, or certainly about a week or so ago, to a stronger than average solar wind prediction there as we go through into November. So November, first half of it is forecast to have stronger than average solar winds. That will tell us that the PV is powering up after starting off as a very, very weak and disorderly polar vortex and really taking a long time to get itself going. It is predicted there, you know, if the forecast is correct, that the solar wind will, that PV will power up. And so the way we look at the PV, just to explain this, the polar vortex, one way you can look at it is with the temperature. At 10 HPA, that's where in stratosphere, that is where the PV is at its roots, if like where it's rooted to in the stratosphere, way up in the top of the atmosphere. And the colder that the temperature gets at 10 HPA over North Pole will typically be associated with the polar vortex getting stronger. Another way that you look at polar vortex is with the solar wind, and that kind of tells you how strong the PV itself is. So as I said, at the moment, we've got a very weak polar vortex that is predicting to get stronger as we go through into the first half of November in particular. That only gets us, though, to the middle of November, and we have got more extended range data that we could look at for the 10 HPA solar wind over the Arctic and the North Pole. This is coming from the Copernicus suite of websites, first time that you've seen these charts this season. So again, the black line here is climatology. We expect the solar wind to be getting stronger as we go through the autumn, reaching its maximum strength typically around the new year, and then gradually weakening down into the first 2-3 months of the year, through January, February, March and whatnot. So we can see that at the moment the ECM is certainly showing that the solar wind and most of the ensemble plume members, so each individual spaghetti is an individual ensemble plume member. Now, most of the ensemble plume members from the ECM were predicting a weaker than average solar wind through September and into October. The key lines to focus on are the blue and red lines. Now, they are the forecast ensemble mean and the mean and the model climate mean. And you can see, particularly quite interestingly here, through December and into January and February, the ECM is forecasting that the solar wind will be weaker than average. The blue and red lines are underneath the black line there through the core of the winter. Maybe showing signs of strengthening a little bit when you get into the latter part of winter, into February. But like through the early to middle part of winter anyway, like the heart of the winter really, we see that the solar wind at 10 HPA from the ECM model is being forecast to be somewhat weaker than average. We can also have a look at Meteo France, and that's telling a similar story as well, I think. So again, through November, Meteo France has the blue and red lines underneath the black line. Getting a bit closer, but still generally a little bit under the black line, the climatology line through December, January, and probably saying slightly under par with the solar wind right way through the course of winter, actually slightly weaker than average solar winds being predicted there from Meteo France. GWV is much more dramatic though, so ECM, no, quite interesting. Meteo France much closer to average, I think, but GWV, check this out, again the black line member is climatology. That's where you'd expect the zone of wind to be, on average. But look how far under climatology both the blue and red lines are here as we're going through the early part of the winter. Anyway, generally saying weaker than average with the zone of wind right the way through the winter. So, DWD, particularly going through the early part of winter just there, let's get rid of those lines, through the early part of the winter just here, November kind of to January, let's say, this period here, we do see that the German model is forecasting really quite a weak zone of wind through the earlier part of the winter. JMA also a little bit under average with its prediction for zone winds at 10 HPA. Blue and red lines again under the black line, not as dramatically so as what we saw from DWD a moment ago, but still generally a weaker than average zone of wind being predicted there from the Japanese meteorological agency as well. And then finally, we've got the UK Met, and that also going for a weaker than average zone of wind through the earlier part of the season. So October, November into December, zone of winds forecast to be weaker than average. They then power up to average or stronger than average though through January and into February with Meteo France there. So Meteo France, I want to talk about Met Office, but the UK Met does suggest, that we might see the zone of wind getting stronger later on in the winter. But some quite interesting stratospheric data at the moment coming out of Copernicus, and certainly food before. Anyway, those forecasts we have been including those in the past, I think the last couple of years, maybe the last 3 years. Can't quite remember when we started including those, but we have seen that they're not that reliable though. So it is with a great pinch of salt those forecast charts for the strength of polar vortex zone of wind at 10 HPA. Nevertheless, it's of interest that most of those models are going for a weaker than average zone of wind, certainly through the early part of the winter, for maybe powering up a little bit later on. Anyway, food for thought. We'll look at those again in October and indeed in November as well. So we'll keep you up to date with what's happening, what's being predicted stratosphere-wise. Of course we will. Right, been a pretty good video so far, this, hasn't it? Pretty good update. We are firing on all cylinders now, I think. But we've got King of Swing back. So, King of Swing's back. We're firing on all cylinders. Here we go. Let's do it. So, I'm going to pause the video there. When we return, though, we're going to have sea surface temperature anomaly data for you. So, more about that in a couple of seconds. See you in a mo. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the epic 5th Winter 2024-25 updates from GavsWeatherVids. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, let's persevere and crack on, shall we? And as I said a moment ago, before the break, we are looking at sea surface temperature anomaly data for the beginning of this third section. So, we've got our 4 areas of interest. This is from last week's 4th winter update, by the way. We've got our 4 areas of interest. The ENSO region is just there. We've got the Northern Pacific here with a particular focus on the Northeastern Pacific. We've got the Indian Ocean over there, and we have got the Atlantic Ocean through there. Okay, well, let's see how that compares to the current scenario in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And in terms of the ENSO region, let's start there. Not much development, actually, over the past week. So it's been another week where La Nina hasn't really strengthened. You would expect La Nina to be strengthening week by week at this point, with, occasional deviations, variations and whatnot. But really, you would expect La Nina, if it's going to become, like, a particularly strong event, anyway, you expect La Nina to really be strengthening day by day, week by week at this point. And we haven't really seen that, over past week. So if we go back again to last week, that's how the ENSO region was looking last week in terms of La Nina. So it's looking this week. If anything, we've possibly seen a little bit of warming through this eastern portion, I think. And even in the central western portion even if you haven't seen warming, we certainly haven't seen much in the way of cooling either. So La Nina looks like it has stalled in the past week. Off the South American coast, from Peru down to Chile, through there, we do see cold and average sea temperature, which is normally associated with a cold event with La Nina. So I suspect we will see the La Nina get a little bit stronger over the next couple of months and whatnot. But I think we're too late now to get a strong La Nina. We're probably even going to struggle to get a moderate La Nina. So if we do have an official La Nina designated, I would imagine it will be like quite a weaker then. Now, La Nina has stalled really in the actual Pacific Ocean over the past week, and even perhaps slightly backed off into the Indian Ocean. Let's have a look at the situation over there last week. That's how it looked last week. That's how it looks this week. Very little change in the Indian Ocean. Cool things down a little bit. Just there off the coast of Africa, and as we come over here towards Indonesia, so sorry everyone, and come over here towards Indonesia and Australia, perhaps warm things slightly, but again, not much change in the Indian Ocean over the past week there. And then finally in the Northern Pacific, let's go to the Northern Pacific, sorry, I'm going to go to the Atlantic then, but forgot to do the Northern Pacific. So in the Northern Pacific, again, that's how things were looking last week. How are they looking this week? Again, very little change in the Northern Pacific. Perhaps a little bit of cooling has occurred in this far northeastern portion. At the same time, this area might have warmed a little bit though. No, not much change really over the past week in either the Indian Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. Look at the 7-day change in a moment though. And then in the North Atlantic, again, this is where we're looking right now. That is how things looked in the North Atlantic last week. This is how things are looking this week. So we're possibly seeing like the Caribbean and the subtropical Atlantic warming in the past week, particularly in the western portion of the subtropical Atlantic and to the Caribbean. What about in the northern portion of the Atlantic up here? So there, things are still generally, as they nearly always are, above average up there. So generally, again, we see just quite a warm Atlantic. We have seen some cooling off the coast of Africa just there. But again, you know, that's shallower waters nearer to the Canary Islands and whatnot. And so it's like in the deeper waters of the Atlantic where the changes will be somewhat slower. This is the 7-day change. So this confirms that most parts of the ENSO region have actually warmed in the past week, which is not really what we're looking for if we're going to get La Nina going. So most parts of the equatorial Pacific Ocean have warmed in the past week. Much of the Indian Ocean seeing slight warming in the past week with a little bit of cooling as we established just there. Things have turned cooler in the Northern Pacific, especially over towards Japan actually, but of course it's still so significantly above average there that even though things have cooled quite a bit, by about 5 degrees actually in the past 7 days. Nevertheless, because the sea surface temperature was so far above average, it's still warmer than normal. Anyway, in the northern and northeastern Pacific and down here, so we have seen a bit of cooling through there, but nothing overly dramatic. And then in the Atlantic, so things have cooled a bit towards Africa, but we confirm they have warmed in the past 7 days in the western portion of subtropical Atlantic and towards the Caribbean and in the tropical Atlantic itself. A bit of cooling has taken place close to Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, but again, not enough to bring the sea surface temperature anomalies down to be below average yet. And to the south of Greenland, things have warmed up a little bit through there as well. So waxing and waning a little bit over the past 7 days, but nothing overly dramatic going on. I think the most important thing that's happened ocean-wise in the past 7 days is that we have seen a definite stall in the La Nina development. So let's go here next, and that is the Southern Oscillation Index. So the SOI is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It doesn't drive anything, so in terms just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. It's measuring air pressure between Tahiti and Darwin, and then coming up with an overall daily Southern Oscillation Index, SOI index. Now, this is from Queensland Government. We've got our Tahiti column for barometric pressure here, got our Darwin column just here, and the date column is just there. Then the overall SOI number is just there. When you're in a negative SOI, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. In a positive SOI, atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. What's happened, what's gone wrong with this La Nina so far is that we haven't seen consistent positivity of the SOI. We haven't seen the atmosphere in a consistently La Nina type setup. What's happened over the past week is very, demonstrative of that. So we've got the 20th of September here with a slightly positive SOI, +3. 21st of November, again, very weakly positive, +1. Then negative on the 22nd, -1. Even more negative on the 23rd, -3. More negative still on the 24th, -8. That's an atmospheric setup that is quite strongly representative of El Nino. 25th of September at -4, again El Nino type setup. 26th of September -2, again very weak El Nino type atmospheric setup. 27th of September did see the SY going to more La Nina type setup at +6.42. But, we're not seeing enough positive days. We're not seeing enough days where the atmospheric setup is reflective of La Nina to allow this event to really bed in and get going. Obviously, we see from the season temperature anomalies that the subsurface temperature anomalies too, but we have looked at previous winter updates that the actual precipitation does want to go to La Nina. It wants to be La Nina, but the atmospheric setup is fighting against that, as we see through the Southern Oscillation Index. And actually, at the moment, the 30-day average, which is this red line just here, is becoming more negative. So earlier on in September, we did see the SY shifting in terms of the 30-day average into quite positive territory. And I thought at that point that's probably La Nina, really starting to get going. The atmosphere was starting to shift properly into La Nina territory. But now we see that the SOI is heading towards negative territory again, which is not what we expect at all when we're in this strengthening phase of La Nina. We don't expect to see the atmospheric setup shifting back into like more of an El Nino, or certainly ENSO neutral type setup. So that's what's gone wrong with the La Nina so far. Nevertheless, I think we probably will have a weak La Nina in the end of the winter of 24-25, but no more than that. Now, if you look at what's happening with the oceans, excuse me again, everybody. This is how the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season page is looking from Wikipedia. These are the scores on the doors. We've had 10 depressions so far for this season, 10 tropical storms. I think that's up 3 from last week. We've had 6 hurricanes. I think that's up 1. 2 rather, and we've had 3 major category 3 or above hurricanes. I think that's up 1 from last week as well. So I have seen some development with the scores on the doors there. They have moved a little bit. Ace looks like this, coming from Ace Master Shrine. Thanks to Ace Master Shrine for him for sorting this out for us, keep this updated, our Ace table. So Ace is a way of depicting the strength of each individual tropical storm and hurricane, and then bring in an overall ACE number for the season as a whole. And the classifications for the seasons are below normal, near normal, above average, hyperactive. We go back to 1851 with this, but we're not interested in going back that far. We come down to 2024, and our ACE is now sitting at 72.80 after 10 tropical storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. ACE at this point in the season, up to 28th of September, should be at 91.70, so we're still below average, despite the developments we had over the past week. We're still below average for our accumulated cyclone energy. We would have expected to have had 11 tropical storms, would have expected to have had 5 hurricanes. We've actually had 1 more hurricane than we'd have expected, but obviously relatively weak and short-lived hurricanes. And we would have expected to have had 2 major hurricanes by this point in the season as well. So, interesting that despite the overall storms and hurricane numbers, being quite close to average now, accumulated cyclone energy, the amount of energy most storms are emitting, is actually still quite a bit below average. Ace Master Shryan will keep you updated. Thank you so much, Shryan, our Ace Master, for that. Right, just to confirm again that we are in the Wesley phase of quasi-binary oscillation. This is from NASA. Levels of the atmosphere just here. We've got 10 HPA Stratospheric. Talked about a lot about that earlier on. Of course, 10 HPA up there. 30 to 50 HPA is the boundary level of the atmosphere, but called the troposphere, where weather is taking place. This sandy brown area is the current Wesley phase of the QBO, descending from the strat down into the troposphere. The winter of 2024-25 will be Wesley QBO Winter, and next week we will have the overall number for September in terms of the QBO. So more about that next week. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast looks like this. It seems we've entered into a long-term negative phase of the Arctic oscillation. The black line here, which shows where we've been, with the AO, red lines of the M or GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. Remember, as with all of the indexes, like the SOI, like the QBO, the Arctic oscillation is just an index that's telling us what the atmospheric setup is doing. It's not driving anything in its own terms. When you're a positive AO, you've got low pressure up over par. When you're in a negative AO, you've got high pressure blocking over the Arctic and over North Pole. Now, for most of September, the Arctic oscillation has actually been in quite a strongly negative phase, especially through the third week of the month, where I think it was almost at record-breakingly negative levels for September. We have seen the Arctic oscillation going back towards neutral, just slightly positive over the past few days, but the GFS ensembles are forecasting that as going through October, the AO goes back negative again. So the blocking signal will strengthen, if that's right, through the first half of October. This is probably closely associated, I would have thought, with the weak zonal wind that we've got at the moment. NAO also appears to have entered into a long-term negative phase. Again, the black line shows where we've been with the North Atlantic oscillation, red lines at the end, GFS ensembles are forecasting North Atlantic oscillation to go. So through September, we see the NAO started off positive, but did go extremely negative. That was a record-breakingly negative NAO, I think, for September, that we had about a week or so ago. We have lifted that up, but we're still negative with the NAO right now, and the GFS ensembles are forecasting that the NAO is going to stay negative through the first half of October. So with both the AO and the NAO in negative territory, that could be a signal for quite a cold and wet first half to October. We can see extending AO and NAO forecast data as well that we're including for the first time ever in this year's season of winter updates. So this is from KyleMCritchie.com, and this is showing it based on the CFS though, so keep that in mind. The CFS isn't the most reliable model at best of times, but it's showing that at the moment we are in this negative phase of the Arctic oscillation. The GFS ensemble, the CFS, I should say, ensemble is generally keeping the AO on the negative side through the remainder of the autumn, and interestingly into December as well. That's a very long way off, of course. But notice that drop just there. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? That's just before Christmas, I think. Yeah, if the AO, goes off a cliff heading up towards Christmas, that could be a sign of a cold Christmas. But of course, the thing with this is, just because the AO is negative, just because you've got blocking, doesn't necessarily mean that blocking is on our side of the North Pole. That might be blocking towards Canada or, towards Asia or somewhere else. And particularly important to that is the NAO, and look at this, the NAO, again, the extended forecast shows that it's negative at the moment, likely to stay negative for most of October, but when we go into November, then the NAO is forecast to go positive. Perhaps going weekly negative there sometime around the end of November, but generally we see a stronger signal of the NAO to be positive through the late autumn and into the winter, despite the AO being predicted to be negative. So a negative AO forecast there up to Christmas, but a more positive NAO forecast from about early December onwards. And that could show that the blocking is likely to shift from where it is right now, which is, I think, on our side of the pole. We might see that shifting more towards, the North American or Asian side of the pole and delivering the colder air through there, while we, remain somewhat milder due to the Atlantic setup. But it's all very speculative, and And food for thought, all of interest and that, so we should keep an eye on that. Right, got solar activity next. This is how solar is looking on our side of this today on solarham.net. Put teeth in Gav. Various sunspot regions over solar disk, but despite that, solar activity is at low levels and is expected to remain at low levels for the next 3 days. Where am I going? Going just there, right? Okay, so this is how... Going just there. This is how... Sorry, everybody, I messed up the running order a little bit there. This is how the solar tracker is looking from Shrine. So the orange line, orange spots depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. We had our peak so far. Might not be the peak, but we've had our peak so far. Solar cycle 25 back in the middle to the last part of the summer. We're now down here though with sunspot numbers, and the blue line, which is the 60-day average, and the green line, which is the 30-day average, are in a bit of a free fall at the moment, particularly the 30-day average, which moves more, of course, than 60-day average. So we are seeing solar cycle 25 backing off the gas a little bit at the moment. It looks like this is probably our first peak of solar cycle 25. Normally the solar maximum has 2 peaks, so it's likely that the solar cycle 25 will power up again at some point. But at the moment, it looks like we have actually backed off a little bit with the daily sunspot numbers there. And then this is coming from Richard. This is showing spotless days and the current spotless stretch. Thank you so much to Shrine for the solar tracker. This is from Rich showing current spotless days and current spotless stretch. So 0 days for the current spotless stretch. Every day in 2024 has had sunspots, as was the case in 2023. As well. 2021 had 1 day, but didn't have any sunspots. And then 2021, going back closer to solar minimum, had 64 days without sunspots. 2020 had 208 days without sunspots. Our solar minimum year was 2019, which had 281 days without sunspots. That was solar minimum. If we go back to the last solar cycle, just here, we can see that our comparable year, I think, for this year is 2013, and every day in 2013 had sunspots, so nothing particularly unusual about 2024 having, every day having sunspots in 2024. That's exactly what they expect to be happening at this point in the solar cycle. Right, okay, well, that was all very interesting, wasn't it? We've got one last thing to show you. So I think we're going to be able to bring this out under the hour again, hopefully, fingers crossed. One last thing to show you, and that'll be Eurasian snow cover. For the first time this season, we're going to go back through the archive and see how Eurasian snow cover is looking this year compared to this point all the way back to 1998. More about that in a second, though. One last little break, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to resume the epic 5th 2024-25 update from GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much to Richard Traw for the gift and for being our king of swing and for the solar gift as well. Thank you so much to Shrine Brian for all of the help on this update as well. Analogues, Ace Master as well. It's unbelievable. Thank you so much to our our hashtag Team Gav. Unbelievable, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to turn off webcam and we're going to bring you the final bit of data for this 5th update. This is going to be looking at Eurasian snow cover. As we go along, we can close down the tabs. So, this is always a fan favourite. Over the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to see this whole area, Russia and Siberia, filling up with snow. Scandinavia will also, and Nordic regions will also fill up with snow as well. Now, that is how Eurasian snow cover was looking last week for the 4th update as of 20th of September. See that white area just there is snow cover. This is belated. As of 27th of September, that's how we're looking. So it has seen some slight gains over the past week for Eurasian snow cover. Again, that was set up last week, was set up this week. Seen a few white patches appearing across northern parts of Sweden and into Norway there. And again, through this area just here, we have seen some gains in snow cover as well. So how are we comparing with previous years? Have a look. Please let me know in the comments which years you think are closest to this year. So this is how we compare to 2003. So we have less snow across Siberia this year, I think, compared to 2023. But 2022, we have significantly less snow this year compared to 2022 across eastern portions of Siberia. That is 2021. How do we compare to that year? So probably a little bit less snow compared to this point in 2021. That's 2020. We've got more snow compared to this point in 2020, quite significantly more for eastern portions of Siberia. That is 2019. How do you compare to that? Probably when you average it all out, we're quite close to 2019, but the areas that have snow are significantly different, much further west through central portions of Russian Siberia at this point in 2019. That's 2018. How do you compare that? Yeah, I think we're a little bit above 2018. That's 2017. We're a little bit below 2017. Notice through most of these years, not much happening over Scandinavia and Norway at this point, so I'm not going to talk about that yet. More about that in the next week or two. That's 2015. So how do you compare to that year? Oh, by the way, I think we're missing 2016. Okay, so we're below 2016 for snow cover at this point. We are, compared to 2015, probably quite closely matched to 2015, actually. We're behind 2014, quite substantially so, I should say, for snow cover, and we're behind 2013 as well. That's 2012. We're ahead of 2012, I think, this year, and that is 2011. We're probably a little bit behind 2011, maybe quite closely matched. That's 2010. How do you compare to that? Yeah, I think we're a little bit behind 2010. That's 2009, so a little bit ahead of 2009 this year. That is 2008. What do you think about that year? Probably quite closely matched to 2008. That's 2007. We're ahead of 2007, and that is 2006. We are also a little bit ahead of 2006 as well. Right, so that is 2005. I haven't zoomed into that one for some reason, so let's just do that. Okay, so when we at 2005, I reckon we're ahead of 2005 there. And that is 2004, probably quite closely matched to 2004. That could be one of the closest matches. And then we're into 2003, and I think we are a little bit ahead of 2003. That's 2002, so we're behind 2002 for this year, and I've just accidentally shut down the 2024 page. Oh dear, I wanted to shut down 2002, I shut down 2024. Anyway, so for the last couple of years, that is 2001. We're probably a little bit behind 2001. That is 2000, probably quite closely matched to that year. That is 1999, probably quite close to that year. And we're behind 1998. So we're firmly, in the middle of the pack, I think, at the moment. There are several years that were ahead at this point in terms of Russian Siberian snow cover, and there are several years that were behind where we are right now as well. So I think we're quite nicely in the middle of the pack there, back to 1998. But next week, blimey, you wouldn't think that was enough. Next week, we're going to go back all the way to the 1960s and do a year-by-year comparison, first time this season. So that will be epic, and you'll see that in next week's 6th Winter Update. Well, that's it. What an update that's been. I said it's going to be an epic, and indeed it was. Now, I've got no idea why my cursor is showing up that red arrow there. Why the hell is that happening? I have to look into that after after I turned off the screen recorder and whatnot. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to this 5th Winter 2024-25 update. It's been an epic. epic, hasn't it? So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends, your family, your neighbour, your doctor, your Vicky, your aunt, your mother-in-law to subscribe. Thanks so much, everyone, for doing that. Thanks so much to Richard and Australia for all of the help on this winter update. Hashtag Team Gav done an amazing job, as they always do for us. So thank you so much, guys. We're going to be live at 5:30. So if you've got any questions about this winter update, I just want to let you know what it's thought about it. I'll be live at 5:30. We will do a 10:40 day and include some long range, as well as discussing this 5th winter update. I say that will be coming up for you at 5:30 this evening. And you will find out at the beginning of next week's 6th winter update how this 5th winter update has affected the swingometer. That'll be the first thing that you'll see next week. So we shall see then how or if the swingo has moved. But at 54 minutes, so again, brought in under the hour, doing all right with the updates this year. 54 minutes, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again with the next instalment next week. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and bye for now.